What's up? What's happening? Welcome here to Lacrosse Now. He is Tom Eschen. I am Travis Eldridge. This is part 2 of our two-part show preview for the championship weekend here this weekend.
Okay.
So if you missed the first part, that came out on Tuesday. That was where we were talking about a lot of storylines. We had some terrific guests. We had Grace Griffin from Maryland, Ali Mastriani from North Carolina, and Chris Brown from Princeton. We've got more terrific guests here today.
We do. We have Charlotte North and Belle Smith from Boston College, Brian Brecht, the Rutgers head coach, CJ Kirst, right? That's the right
From
Kirst.
Cornell. That is the correct Kirst.
Just make sure I got the right Kirst. CJ from Cornell. So we've got a good show for you. I didn't even realize. Oh, we also
Northwestern's
have Lauren
Gilbert.
Thank you, John, producer in my ear. So, yeah, that's a lot. Whoa, boy.
Yeah, so let's get right to it.
I didn't even know we had this was part 2. I didn't even know that was part 1.
Because we had, part 1 was storylines, bunch of guests. Part 2 here, we're going to go into the matchups of all 4 semifinals. We're going to start with the men's matchups. We'll have the interviews mixed in, and then we'll get to the women's Final Four picks as well. And we're going to make our picks for all of these games.
For all of these games. So Final Four and championship, right?
Yeah, all the way through. We'll see if we're right. Let's start with the team of the weekend. I guess there's 2 teams of the weekend. You got the Maryland men and the North Carolina women. The question is, can either one or both finish this thing out, undefeated season, win a national championship? We'll start with the Maryland men. The top seed overall, obviously undefeated. They've got the 5-seed Princeton here this weekend. Obviously, it is a rematch. It was a 15-10 win by Maryland during the regular season. What do you make of this matchup the second time around?
Clearly, Travis, it's the second game, so they're going to lose, right?
Well, no. They're the 2:30 game. So a lot has been made of this.
So it's
not going to be that they're going to lose this game. It's that they're going to lose the championship.
They're going to lose the championship.
Because a lot has been made of the time slot that Maryland has been given yet again.
And this isn't just us saying it. Their head coach has said it.
It was asked of John Tillman earlier this week about his thoughts on playing the 2:30 game instead of the noon game in the semifinals. And usually that 2:30 game, by the way, doesn't start till closer to 3 because the time you got to get on the same field to warm up and all that. There has been some history that the team that has won the second semifinal is less likely to win here in the last 8 to 10 years, the national championship on Monday, than the team that wins the noon one, because there's an extra 2.5 hours of time that the winner of that first semifinal gets before the championship game on Monday. But let's not forget that Maryland, the only time they won the national championship here since the 1960s, they won the second semifinal game back in 2017 in Foxborough and then won the championship game. However, I will mention, for Maryland's credit, that championship game on Monday was very cool against Ohio State. I was wearing a couple layers. I was actually chilly that Memorial Day. So that certainly probably played as a good thing for them. It's supposed to be pretty warm here on the East Coast. That never helps the situation. But at the end of the day, like 2.5 hours really shouldn't, if you're that much better and you should win the national championship, 2.5 hours of recovery time shouldn't make the difference on what you do on Monday.
No, it's really interesting. I mean, to have the head coach say it outside of
he was asked about it.
He was asked, and
it has been a storyline,
Right, and I don't know if maybe this is some sort of Bill Belichickian Jedi mind trick move by Coach Tillman here, where he's trying to, get people sort of relaxing a bit or trying to think the other direction, because I don't know what the reason would be, the positive of bringing this up. You know what I mean? Your guys are going to see it. Is probably saying his own thing to his team. I'm just wondering about that philosophy and maybe putting this out there and what that does for you. Maybe you're getting someone to rest on their. I don't know. You're trying to get in the head of someone else. I mean, it's a very interesting concept, because I don't know if he's saying it without a reason behind it.
Well, because you're right. Because I think a lot of coaches just say, well, yeah, we've got the second semifinal game, whatever it is.
Coach speak would be, hey, we're going to, that's the time, we'll play you anywhere, anytime.
Because the so it's a lot of it's an NCAA thing and a TV thing. They want the biggest names in the biggest game to be the second semifinal for attendance, because you want people to filter in for that first game and then stick around and stay for the second game. And TV-wise, same thing with viewership. You want to get people in during that first game. You hope it's good, but you want them to stick around for the second game to keep them there. Maryland, because of its notoriety and because the fact they've been one of the better teams here every time they get to championship weekend, they're going to be that is an honor. Now, I mean, they apparently don't like it, but that is an honor to be that second game. Like, usually the atmosphere for that second game is awesome.
Yeah. And if you want to be a sport that's talked about and put in the realm of other ones and on the ascent, you want to have that be a part of the equation. You want to say, oh, TV-wise, we need to play this game that day. Yo, let's embrace that because it's going to help our sport, our program grow. I don't know. That might not be part of the equation, but it's just. Now, to me, that just seems like it's a natural progression of any sport. The NFL, TV things matter.
The NFL filters stuff around a little bit more, but it's like the AFC complaining because the Patriots are always the 6:05 game on championship weekend, and they have like 6 less hours of recovery for the Super Bowl. Like, seriously, that's kind of, or like having to play a Monday night game and then having to play a big game on Sunday afternoon. Like, people are going to complain about it. To your point, I'm surprised he addressed it this week. Like, if they go and lose, this feels like an off-season topic that you hit on. And I feel like it actually has been hit on by him in previous years. The fact that you ask about it and he hasn't got any answers, like, the answer is that you're a big-name program and people have expectations for you and people think people want to watch you. Those are all good things. And so just go take care of business like you did in 2017, and this doesn't matter.
Right. So will they get there? I think a lot of people think they will against the Princeton team that they had beaten earlier in the year. One of the tougher games Maryland has played all season long, that a 15-10 Maryland victory. And you look for reasons maybe that Maryland loses, because you kind of have to say, what are the things that need to come together? What's the perfect storm to make this a competitive game, or a game in which Princeton has a shot in the second half? Because, I mean, Maryland, the odds-on favorite to win the whole thing, and we know that after how dominant they've been this year. And, yes, they played once before. I think that's a key part of this, and that's the reason why I don't think Maryland loses. But I think this is going to be a very close game that goes down to maybe the final 5 minutes. I think that's how close it will be, because this group from Princeton, and honestly, this is more about what we've talked to them about, what you've seen from them over the course of the year. They're very mature, it feels like. I don't think they're a team, especially knowing that they already played Maryland this year, they're not going to be intimidated by the environment. They're not going to be intimidated by big, bad Maryland coming in as the #1 team in the nation. I think that'll help them get off to a pretty good start, because you look at their experience on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. I just can't count them out of walking in and saying, hey, you know what, whatever, Maryland, we belong here too. I just think that mentality, if it was a different team, maybe even a team, there's a reason Yale wasn't here. Yale's a little bit younger of a team. Yes, they have the experience here. I know Princeton doesn't have the experience in this
they're a more veteran
arena,
team.
But they have a veteran presence.
Yeah.
I understand they don't have the experience in championship weekend, but they have a lot of veterans who all contribute. And I think that really matters in a situation like this.
You look at the X's and O's matchup here, and I feel like it comes
I was going
down,
for the emotional. Yeah.
I feel like there are two things that need to happen in order for Princeton to have a chance in this game. First, just overall, they've got to get off to a fast start. We haven't seen anybody get off to a fast start against Maryland. That has been one of the reasons Maryland has been so dominant all year. But the couple of things I look at, and we talked about this earlier this week, the face-off battle is huge. Tyler Sandoval didn't play in the first meeting between Princeton and Maryland. He is over 50% on the season. He's a better option for Princeton than what they had in that first meeting. So him versus Luke Weirman is going to be really intriguing, because Weirman went 19-27 in that first win. That's a ton of extra possessions. Princeton's got to steal some of those. It's got to be 50-50. If it's 50-50, that's a handful more possessions than you had the first time. That's good. Also, the wings and Andrew Song, Jake Stevens going to have a lot to do with that. But it comes down to Maryland shooting. We haven't seen Maryland shoot the ball poorly all year long. And it goes down to their percentages. And I was doing a deep dive on their shooting percentages this year. They're #1 in the country in shooting percentage as a team. They're the only team in all of Division I that is shooting better than 40%. Those are huge numbers. They've got 4 guys in the top 20 in the nation in shooting percentage, led by Logan Wisnauskas and Keegan Conner, both shooting over 47%. They're scoring on almost 50% of their shots. That's absurd. So if Princeton's going to have any chance, you need Peters to make some stops, But you also need some of these guys to not have a good day. And it hasn't happened all year because you go after those guys. Owen Murphy and Jonathan Donville are both over 40% too shooting-wise. So you've got 4 guys in the top 20 in the country in shooting percentage. Even if one of them's off, it's highly unlikely that all of them are off, and that has been one of the biggest keys to Maryland's success all year.
And I will couple that because I also looked at the shots taken in this aspect as well. The game against Notre Dame, the fewest shots Maryland's taken all year long. They took 41 in that game. Notre Dame took 31. And in the first matchup with Princeton, Maryland had 50 shots in that game. Princeton had 23.
Big
and
disparity.
Princeton still only lost by 5. That, to me, slides the direction of Princeton, just because you look at that ratio and the space-off difference and all of that.
But look at all year. They've had more shots than everybody.
They have had more shots than everybody all season long. So my thought is that, in addition to what you say, and they're going to shoot the way they shoot, you have to limit their shots, and then you have to take almost as many shots. In the Syracuse game, it was 41-39.
Closer.
And that's as close as it's been all season long for anybody. And Syracuse played them pretty closely as well. So you need to not only limit their shots, slow the game down. You can't let them get 5-6 shots in a row. You can't let them get rolling. You have to at least go down to your end, and you have to almost match them in that aspect. That's what you have to do, because the teams that have been successful against them have been able to do that.
I get that.
I'm not saying you can. I'm just saying that's what has to happen.
How would you propose that Princeton do that?
You have to win some faceoffs, number one.
Okay.
And then you have to get those defensive guys, the Andrew Songs of the world, George Bogan, have to get some turnovers. They have to take the ball away, which has also been very difficult for teams to do, as Princeton's number 5 in the nation in turnovers this year. The 5th best team at keeping possession of the ball.
That's good.
So that's another thing you have to do that's uncharacteristic, right? We're talking about things that Maryland has to do that's uncharacteristic of the way they've played all year long. One is not shoot well. The other is probably turn it over.
I think the more likely way Princeton can steal some more possessions along with the face-off is you look at the 50-50 balls. And the thing that stood out to me in watching the Virginia dismantling of Maryland, like how Maryland's dismantling of Virginia. How often, I look back at Virginia's game against North Carolina in the regular season at UNC when they kind of had their coming out party of like, oh, hey, we're back type thing. And all the 50-50 balls that Virginia won. And that is a staple of that Virginia team. They like to play chaotic. They're good at getting those first-time ground balls and turning them into easy goals. It was the complete opposite in this game that was in the quarterfinal. Every 50-50 ball, Maryland was on it, and they're quickly going the other way. And this isn't your father's Maryland team that's going to stop and wait and settle down for a minute. They are going. And that's one of the reasons their shooting percentages have been so high, because Logan Wisnauskas in the settled 6-on-6 obviously is the focus of everybody's scouting report. He doesn't have to get his points there because he gets it on the unsettled. Like balls loose on a rebound or on a ground ball in the middle of the field. They're coming the other way. The defense is scrambling, and all of a sudden you see Wisnauskas from 10 to 15 yards out stepping down, and no one is stopping that shot.
No.
And that has been Maryland's key all year because, they're great in the settled on both ends, but in the unsettled, in the 50-50 situations, they are winning every one of those battles, and that is what takes them from winning by 2 or 3 to winning by 5 to 10.
Yeah. Because,
that's been the difference.
Right. And they've been able to do it against teams multiple times this year, too. And I know I say I like Princeton's experience, their veteran leadership in the second time around for a team. And then I go back and I think also, Maryland blew out Virginia twice.
Yeah.
They blew out Rutgers twice this year.
2 really good teams.
The Hopkins game was a different entity because that's a rivalry game, and I think that's just a different story.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing where, yes, that could be certainly an issue here, as Maryland has done such a great job the second time around on teams. I don't think that's going to be the case, but that is what the history shows us as well. So that's a little scary.
So are you going Princeton?
No, I'm going Maryland.
Okay, me
but
too.
I know we kind of laid everything out there on the table.
A good game.
I do think it's going to be, I think it's going to surprise some people because I don't think that Princeton is that bad, I guess, at the end of the day. I think Princeton is excellent enough where they can put on a show for people and make this a competitive bout.
I want to make it clear,
right?
Like, we've seen great teams go against Maryland all year, and Maryland, I think, is that much better. I've been waiting for a really good team to get them, and I've now come to the conclusion, after that Virginia game and what they did in the quarterfinal, like I've come to the conclusion that this team is just that much better than everybody else that we have this year, because there are other good teams. Like Princeton's a really good team. Virginia, I think, is a really good team. Rutgers is a really good team. And like nobody's come. Like Rutgers lost by 10 twice.
Yeah, I would argue. I just think Princeton's a little more battle tested than some of those other teams. Virginia didn't really have a great win this year.
Yeah,
you know,
Rutgers
they didn't really beat anybody.
And Rutgers has now played them twice.
Rutgers it's a conference foe. They know each other a little bit better. Yeah. I think being in the Ivy League as well for Princeton bodes well in that aspect too. I think that
we'll see.
They're a little more battle tested. I just like the veteran presence, and I'll say that. I think to make it close and an exciting game at that, because I think a lot of people think this is going to be like Virginia. Which I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay, I think it might be. I got burned last week thinking Virginia had a shot.
You did.
I'm on the Terps bandwagon.
Somebody who is very familiar with this Maryland team is Brian Brecht from Rutgers. Obviously had a chance to play him twice this year. They're hoping that maybe they get a chance to play him again, because that means that they're in the championship game on Monday. I had a chance to catch up with him earlier this week, looking ahead to their showdown with Cornell in the other semifinal. So we're now joined by Rutgers head coach Brian Brecht. Coach, you look through the all-time Final Fours, and Rutgers has hosted this thing a whole lot, but it's never played in a Final Four here on the men's side, and you guys finally get to do that. How cool is this for your program to have the opportunity to play in championship weekend?
Oh, it's a great opportunity for our players. They've certainly earned it. Very proud of what they've been able to do this year, but also, you know, all the young alumni over the past, 10 years, the heavy lifting that they put in to allow this team and our program right now to, play on Memorial Day, and, certainly, great opportunity for them, and very thankful for our administration and our alumni for all the support they've provided us to get us to this point.
You mentioned building to this point, and it really does feel like that's what this has been for you. It's like you check off certain boxes, and now you get a chance to check off going to championship weekend. How have you seen this progress to the team that now you guys get there?
Yeah, no, it doesn't happen overnight, and I'm reminded, Christmas doesn't just happen on the 25th. There's a lot of hard work that's put in by parents for the kids to enjoy that day when they get up that morning. So, and it's the same thing with us. We've had a lot of people behind the scenes, a lot of players, a lot of our alumni and administration, and sports medicine, strength and conditioning, our trainers and academic advisors. There's a lot of people that have really helped our student athletes, each year, each step of the way, and just proud of this team, and thankful for all the people that helped us get here.
I was watching the video of you guys celebrating on Saturday after the win, and of course, our former producer Pete Dolan stood out with his dancing abilities. I didn't know he could move like that. But take me to the locker room on Saturday when you guys know you guys are headed to championship weekend. What's it like?
Yeah, I think once again, it started on the field. I think you felt as the clock ticked down the excitement on the sidelines. After the game, and being the first game, you want to be respectful, and it's a short turnaround with the other teams coming on to prepare. So we were able to take it to the locker room and continue that celebration. It's just a great experience. So thankful. We got 27 seniors and grad students that got their degrees from Rutgers last week. And, for all the guys in our locker room, it's been a great season. It's just a great opportunity for us to be able to practice today and all week, to spend another, week with our team on the practice field, in the film room, in the weight room, and then another bus trip, another hotel experience, and an opportunity this weekend on Memorial Day.
So compare the feeling to last year, because you guys get to the quarterfinal round, you lose a heartbreaker in overtime. And I look back at this fourth quarter against Penn. You guys are down by 2 with 10 minutes to go, and you score 5 of the last 6 goals. Is there a way, are there things you learned from last year on this stage or in big games that apply? Is it just different execution? How do you explain how, this year it works out for you when in the past it hasn't?
Yeah, athletics is funny. That's why you play the game. And I think the one thing we can take from last year is the experience. The experience leading up to the quarterfinals, the travel, the preparation, and obviously the game experience. To play a big game and have all those big moments. with all the guys having to play out of situations that you can't script up, in practice all the time. So, but it comes down to, making plays, being poised. And I think that experience for all our older guys last year, they were hungry this year. They were committed. They were extremely focused from September to the start of January. And then obviously, last week was the most, focused and, loose but confident that I've seen them. And I think that goes with the, playing in the Big Ten, having to prepare for, a Big Ten schedule, in April and leading into May, every week, and the challenges of those 60 minutes. I think the Big Ten tournament, being on the road and having a Thursday, Saturday game, I think our guys are well prepared, and they've experienced everything that, game day can throw at them. So I'm proud of them for how they handled the heat and the adversity, and just a great, Ivy League champion, for a quarterfinal win.
I can't help but think about some of the guys that have been part of this program over your time there at Rutgers, whether it was a Jules Henningberg or a Kieran Mullins, an Adam Charlambides, a Christian Mazzone, guys that have been staples part of this program that didn't have a chance to play on this stage. I wonder, I'm sure you've gotten text messages. I wonder what your message has been to some of those guys who had taken this program to new heights when they were there, and now they get a chance to see the program play on championship weekend.
Yeah, I think that's what I was alluding to earlier in your conversation is, that 2016 class led by Scott Beda and Zach Sikora as captains, they have 11 wins and the success they had playing in the Big Ten championship that year. You mentioned, a great bunch of Scarlet Knights that have done a lot of heavy lifting to get us here. And, Casey Rose and Austin Davikas, Chad Tolliver. There's been a handful of players that have really helped us on and off the field and continue to represent Rutgers well. Joe Nardella in the PLL, and, what those guys are doing now, flying the Rutgers flag, certainly proud of them and thankful for everything they've done, here at Rutgers during their time, but also what they continue to do, as a proud Rutgers alum.
And I know there will be a lot of them in the stands there in Connecticut this weekend. You play Cornell, which is quite the situation for your goalie, Colin Kirst, because he's got to play against his brother, who, on top of everything, is an attackman. So, the two of them know each other better than anything. What do you say to Colin when he knows he's playing his brother?
Same as last year when he had to play his brother. There's not much, Colin, if anything, is an unbelievable professional. He prepares, he's focused, and, if there's one thing, he doesn't get distracted with anything. So he's been a great leader for us defensively. He's been a great, teammate in the locker room, on and off the field. So, just proud of everything he's done for our program and the experiences he's had. And, just another game for Rutgers, and we just got to take care of ourselves.
Defensively, what has been the key for you guys holding Harvard to 9 and then Penn to 9 here in the first 2 weeks of this tournament?
Well, I think, players making plays. We have a lot of experience on that end of the field. I think Coach Ryan has done a great job developing that, unit, getting them, to play to their strengths and understand who they are. And I think our rope unit was outstanding, on Saturday, to get 3 goals and 4 assists, running in transition and playing within our system and just taking care of what they needed to do for Rutgers to have success. And I think that's something that we preach and we talk about. And Coach Ryan does a good job of game planning and making sure that, we're matched up appropriately and playing to our strengths, and, need to continue doing that as we prepare this week and, take on the 60-minute challenge that we're going to have on Saturday.
I'm glad you mentioned the rope unit, because I feel like this time of year, if you're going to have success, it's got to be the long stick middies and the short stick guys that play their best lacrosse down the stretch. And it feels like you guys are having that happen.
Yeah, no, those guys have been a staple of us back from, when we talked about, with Mazzone and Scarpello and Chad Tolliver and Austin Davikas and, Franco when he was a freshman back in that 2016 championship run. So, those guys we're going to lean on. We've leaned on them, for the last, 5 or 6 years, and going to do that this weekend as well.
We've mentioned a lot of your former players here with Rutgers, and we had a chance to catch up with Zach Triner, who's a guy that you coached when you were at Siena, who now is the Super Bowl champion with the Tampa Bay Bucks as a long snapper playing football. But the thing that stood out to me was what kind of allegiance he had to you because of the relationship you had, even in his short time playing lacrosse at Siena before he decided to play college football. What kind of tie do you have with all these guys, and how it has to feel even more special now when you have a chance to watch them play on this stage?
Yeah, I think everyone always asks about the NCAA wins, you going to the quarterfinals, and now going to the Final Four, and I don't know if it's sunken in yet. I think over the summer we'll get as players and coaches to kind of look back and enjoy, but. I will say this: the relationships, do matter, and where I'm very excited and thankful to be the head coach at Rutgers, and we have a great, proud alumni here at Rutgers, and the former players that I've had a chance, to be able to spend time with throughout their careers. Some of the text messages from the Siena alum and the players I've coached, and some of the assistant coaches that have been with me, throughout my time. That's very thankful for the relationships and the continued, connection that we still have. And, looking forward to, growing and building more relationships and memories this weekend.
I'll leave you with this because I think it's pretty crazy that between Richie Moran at Cornell and Tom Hayes at Rutgers, we had two of the kind of legends in this game pass away this year, and both of you guys are represented here in championship weekend. You guys have worn Tom Hayes' name on the back of your jersey since he passed earlier in this season. What does it mean for this program to be on this stage and have a chance to remember him and everything he meant to this program and the sport?
Yeah, Tom Hayes was a Rutgers man through and through. 26 years on the banks as the head coach here, and I know our players. They weren't born and they don't really know him as a person, as a coach here at Rutgers, but they know that what he meant to all our alumni that played for him, and I think they're excited to represent Rutgers, his legacy, his family, and all he's done for Rutgers when they go out and take the field this year.
Well, Coach, we can't wait to see you play here on Saturday. Good luck in the preparation for Cornell. Safe travels, and enjoy this. It's going to be a cool moment for you guys this weekend.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So thanks to Brian Brecht for taking some time. Really cool moment for this program because, it's not that long ago. They're just last year just trying to get into the NCAA tournament for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
Now they're here at championship weekend for the first time ever. As I told him, Rutgers hosted all these championship weekends for a long time. You look back through history, now they get to be a part of one. I think it's really cool.
And good for the Big Ten. I mean, and they're representing two Big Ten teams, two Ivy League teams. A year after it was all ACC, 3 of the 4. So Big Ten kind of reaffirming some of their dominance here too. So.
Well, remember, maybe this works out well for Maryland. When they won it in 2017, two Big Ten teams. They beat Ohio State in the championship game.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's the last time this happened.
Do you think it's going to happen again? Cornell, Rutgers. This is tougher. This is a lot tougher to call.
See, this is a much better. I really don't know which way to go in this game, mainly because I don't know which teams we're going to get here in this game. Because let's be honest, the teams we've seen here over the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament, I think are the best of what we've seen from these teams all year. We've seen, I think, really good Rutgers and really good Cornell at times, and I think we've also seen times where, for both of us, I think we've questioned both of these teams at different times in the year. So now the question is, you're playing your best lacrosse to this point. What teams show up here in the national semifinal? I think if it's best versus best, this is going to be an awesome matchup because I think both sides are great balance. It's not like either one of these teams is offense heavy or defense heavy or has a great face-off guy or both these teams just feel very evenly balanced throughout.
Yeah.
You've got guys who are standouts at different ends, like Gavin Adler's an All-American for Cornell. Ross Scott is terrific offensively. We're going to hear here from CJ Kirst in a second. He's been terrific. But nowhere do you have a breakout superstar on any part. So I think it lends us to this weekend having the ability for somebody to have a breakout game that really makes a name for themselves. And I think that is what excites me the most.
Yeah, because, I mean, Shane Knobloch led Rutgers. He had 3 goals. That tied his season high. He's had 3 goals at a hat trick a few different times this year in the win for them over Penn. I do think Rutgers looked more impressive to me in the tournament thus far. I mean, you beat Harvard 19-9.
Is huge.
You beat Penn 11-9, 2 Ivy League teams over Cornell, who beat Ohio State 15-8. Ohio State obviously was a tweener. People weren't even sure they should be there.
But they beat a Big Ten team. You're talking about the Big Ten. You love the Big Ten.
I mean, they do have. I should. There are 2 teams in the championship.
But I'm just saying, Ohio State.
And Delaware, big upset over Georgetown. Tough to do that again, 10-8. I just think Rutgers has been more impressive here through the tournament. I think they're playing a little bit better right now. And like you said, the defense and offenses of these teams are really intriguing. I mean, Ethan Rahl for Rutgers has been really good. 3 ground balls, 3 caused turnovers against Penn. And the offense for Rutgers, I mean, they had 8 different guys with a goal in that win. And, yeah, Cornell's strength, Gavin Adler, we talked about him all year long. It sort of makes that not as much of their strength anymore because you have this plethora of options on the offensive end. You don't have to push everything through one guy. You know, Ross Scott is excellent for Rutgers, but he doesn't have to be the one dictating the offense. They can work things through multiple facets and multiple places on the field. So I think that really helps them, and that's where we've seen Cornell at times struggle against teams this year, especially late in the regular season, in which they didn't have great games against some teams like Army and even Syracuse as well. So to me, I think that goes in the direction of Rutgers. Rutgers also turns the ball over less than anybody else in the nation. They lead the nation in fewest turnovers per game. I think that makes a big difference as well. Things like you said, pretty even throughout. Also have to remember, you know, experience plays a factor here too. Rutgers, like you said, got here last year to the quarterfinal, that is. They're back in the tournament again this year. And I think that, for me, I like Rutgers more in this case, just because of some of that experience, because of the way they work on offense can be so multifaceted. And Cornell's got a great offense, too. It's hard to find an advantage between the two, whose offense is better. I think because Cornell, you've got a couple guys, Piatelli, Kirst, that can really fill it up. But I think at the end of the day, Rutgers can do it from so many different ways and angles that they can get you quickly at that, too.
Yeah, I was looking at the Cornell offense again. I really like this attack unit between
it's awesome.
Piatelli, Kirst, and don't forget about Michael Long, who a couple of years ago as a freshman with Jeff Teat had become a really good distributor of the ball. He's kind of been overshadowed a bit because Kirst has stepped on the field and been so good in his first year in a Cornell uniform. But I really like that dynamic because Piatelli's a goal scorer for sure. But both Long and Kirst can be both goal scorers and distributors, and I think that creates a great balance of the attack. And the midfield has been good for this Cornell team. I really, this is like just a fun thing to look at in the matchups. Gavin Adler, we talked about his size. We've talked about his size all year. He's just 5'8". His likely matchup, Ross Scott, only 5'9". So this might be the most evenly matched height battle that Gavin Adler's faced all year.
True. Yeah, he doesn't have to handle a big.
He also doesn't have as low center of gravity as much, like because sometimes low man wins, old football terms.
Yeah.
Maybe something to look at for Ross Scott. Ross Scott is fast.
He is.
Lightning fast.
Yeah, and Adler is too, but that's why I don't think that Rutgers needs a like you have other options.
No, I know, but I think this team can be. But look at the difference between the game against Penn and the game against Harvard. Like Ross Scott went off against Harvard. That's when Rutgers' offense is going to score 15, it's Ross Scott that's a big part of it. I think I'm not saying they can't win a game 11-9 like they just did against Penn, but when that offense is clicking, it's Ross Scott helping to initiate.
Yeah, you're right, and that will make a difference if this game is going to get up there in scoring. If that attack unit starts to roll.
That's the other thing I'm fascinated by. I don't know what kind of game this is going to be because I think both teams have the ability. We've seen it in the tournament so far. Both teams can play a game in the teens. And both teams could play a game in the single digits. I don't know which we're going to get.
Yeah, I mean, I trust Rutgers in goal more than Cornell. I know both have played really well, Kirst and Erlin, and that kind of also gives me an edge. I think Rutgers is going to win this game, and I think you're right. I think it's going to be a little more low scoring in my estimation.
You think so?
I think it's going to be another like 12-10 game. I know it's not the lowest scoring. It's not going to be single digits. I don't think that's the way these two teams play, but I do think it's going to be like instead of 15-13 lower and 12-10, maybe a couple late goals there at the end.
By the way, speaking of offense, this Final Four has 3 offenses in the top 10. Do you know whose offense is not in the top 10 in the country?
Is it Cornell?
It is.
Yeah.
So I really like their offense. So I don't know. But they're like 18th, so they're not that far out. But they are.
I got 28th.
Oh, sorry, they are 28th.
28th,
yeah, sorry,
yeah.
I mixed up my 18 and my 1 and 2.
Right.
Yeah, they're 28th.
Yeah,
in the
28th. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
So-
I mean, 28th out of 70 something.
Yeah, you know, had a tough schedule.
True. They did. No, I mean.
But we have seen them score 14, 15 goals. It's not like they haven't done it at all.
No, they can do it. We know we've seen they have the ability to do it.
I really do like Rutgers' rope unit. You mentioned Raw, their short sticks, Frankowiak and Kamish. Like this time of year, we talk about it. What are your short sticks going to do? And I think both of them have been really good here down the stretch.
Yeah, I think that's part of the difference for this team, you know. And they brought in a bunch of transfers, added to their depth. And I like Brian Brecht as well as a head coach.
Yeah.
He embodies that program, and not that Connor Busick doesn't, but you know, he's a little bit younger, little green under the ears for a moment like this. Not that he doesn't have that experience as a player. I just think that Brecht will have a good handle on things over the course of the weekend.
I'll put this question out there to the listeners. I don't know. You probably don't know. Connor Busick, in thinking about this, has to be the youngest coach ever to get to championship weekend in like the modern era, right?
Yeah, I can't imagine.
He's 28.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
28, 29. Like I can't. I did this the other day. Yesterday, I was doing some prep work, and I was looking back through and I couldn't, for the life of me, find somebody I even thought was close.
No. Yeah.
Like this is so. Talk about like what an unbelievable opportunity for him. And look. I know he hasn't been here as a coach, but he is poised. He's cool, calm, and he was there as a player not that long ago.
No.
So he knows what this experience is
He
like,
knows the
which
weekend.
I think is an advantage.
He knows everything, and you're right. That does make a difference at the end of the day. I just, you know, you wonder if some things that he hasn't experienced before as a coach will crop up as well. And that
Guess
can
we'll
play a
find
part.
out. You
Yes,
know
we
what?
will.
So
who you got?
So you've got Rutgers.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Cornell.
Okay.
I think they.
Sounds like you were talking yourself into Rutgers there for a little while.
Yeah, I really like the offense.
like the offense,
I really like
yeah.
the offense for Cornell. Look, as good as Colin Kirst in goal has been all year. I got to get my
Yeah,
Kirst
I know.
right.
That was a great pause.
As good as Colin Kirst has been in goal, his brother CJ, like if there's an advantage, if you know the scout. I mean, I guess Colin knows the scout on CJ too, but I don't know. Maybe CJ gets the best of him.
Okay.
I will say, CJ was a huge Rutgers fan last year when he was not playing.
Yeah.
We're about to hear from him in a second. So he knows this Rutgers team pretty well.
Yeah, he does. He's experienced that before. So we're going to do the interview. We're going to talk about the final. Who's going to win it?
All right, let's pick this before we go to the interview.
So I've got the third meeting between Maryland and Rutgers. First went 17-9. Second was 17-7. Kirst played great in the first one, 15 saves. He had 12 saves in the second time around.
He still gave up 17 goals.
He still gave up 17 goals in each of those. So, and you also, the other stat that stuck out to me was the face-off, and it was not pretty. Duhanio went 1 for 8 in the first matchup. Sam Steffen came in, was 6 for 18. And then in the second matchup, Duhanio went 1 for 11. So that would be a very tough.
Figure that out.
That would be a very tough task, and Rutgers played worse in the second. They turned the ball over 16 times as opposed to 9 times in the first. I think if they do meet again, yeah, third time through, but Maryland at that point be rolling in, and whatever time they play, whatever. I mean, I think that would be an easier game for Maryland than Princeton. So Maryland would win the championship.
In that situation, I do think that the only advantage Rutgers has, I think the second time around when you play in the regular season, or in this case, the Big Ten tournament, that you're pressing so hard because you know how talented they are. Like the first time you go in, it's almost like, not that you're naive to their talent, but you're going to think like, oh, hey, we've got this. The second time around, you go in and you feel like you have to play a perfect game to win because you already faced them once.
Okay,
and so the second time around, you're pressing a little bit. The third time, if you're meeting them in the championship, like you've nothing to lose, especially after the first two. So it's like you can kind of almost block out the first 2 times. I think that's the only way that Rutgers has a chance is if you block out what happened before. Because if you try to play perfect, and sometimes I almost feel like that's the case against this Maryland team. Like somebody goes out there, you feel like you have to play a perfect game.
It's just tough to forget getting blown out twice.
Yeah, I know.
You know, against the same team, the same guys over the course of a couple
Glad it wouldn't
months.
be my team having to go up against that.
So you have Maryland Cornell.
I also have Maryland. I have Maryland winning this thing.
Okay.
We were talking about it earlier in the week, and if you didn't listen to that or watch that, go back and talk about part one of our championship weekend preview. Maryland has an opportunity to be an all-time great champion if they continue what they've been doing here. Like they have the ability, I think, to win both these games by 6 to 10 goals and go down as one of the great teams ever to play in college lacrosse history.
Yeah, and that's what maybe they're playing for as this weekend goes on.
Yeah.
You know, as everybody expects them to win, now it's how much do you win by, from their perspective.
Well, somebody who probably would love the opportunity to go against Maryland, because that would mean he's in a championship game, is CJ Kirst from Cornell. I had a chance to catch up with him earlier this week to talk about the showdown with his brother in Rutgers in the semifinal and a whole lot more.
So we've got Cornell's CJ Kirst joining us now. Hey, man, this is a good time of year to be playing. What's it like to be getting a chance to go to your first championship weekend?
Yeah, it's incredible. Just super excited to have another week with the guys and keep going. And every day we're out in the field, we don't take it for granted. So we're super excited to be in the locker room for one more week with each other and keep going.
So obviously the elephant in the room is you're playing your brother. And not only is it like you guys are on different ends of the field, like it's him versus you. Wait, real talk, when did you realize like this was a possibility?
Yeah, right before or after Selection Sunday, when we saw that we could potentially be facing each other in the Final Four. We kind of talked about it for a little bit, but didn't look past any of our opponents. And now that we're finally here, it's surreal. We're just super excited to go out there and see each other.
What are the text messages and phone calls like this week? Do you talk to him?
Yeah, we've been talking a little bit. Right after we beat Delaware, I just remember seeing a text from him that was like, see you Saturday. So, yeah, we're fired up. And, yeah, I mean, we're both super excited for each other to reach the Final Four. So, yeah, can't wait to get out there.
Obviously, this is not a first for your family because you guys experienced it last year in that Lehigh and Rutgers game. You were separate. So what were the emotions you had being on the sidelines in watching that matchup?
Yeah, that was an incredible experience as well, being there with my family and being able to soak it all in from a fan's perspective. But now being here, I finally feel what it's like to be in Cole's shoes from last year and get to shoot on Colin. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just super excited to be on the field this time and can't wait to finally get to shoot on him.
Yeah, I mean, what's this like for your mom? Because obviously this has to be a pretty special moment for you guys and your family.
Yeah, she's super excited as well. I mean, obviously last year she went through the same thing, and this year now being on the Final Four, I think it's a little bit of a bigger stage, and she's super excited. I think she's got a little shirt going that might be split, and I mean she's excited for my whole family as well. You know, everyone's coming in from all different areas, and she's just super excited to be able to sit next to all of them and soak it all in.
Well, the color scheme's easier. It's just red and white. Like, she's good.
Yeah. So it should be easy for her.
What's the scout like shooting against your brother? What's the scout on it?
I mean, nothing really too different. Obviously I've been shooting on him my entire life, but yeah, I don't know, gotta get close and hopefully let it fly as hard as I can.
When you look at, obviously you go to Cornell in your freshman year, you don't know what's going to happen and you end up sitting out. Walk me through the experience of last year, not having an opportunity to play this out in the field, and then the emotions of coming back this year. And now you guys are playing here on the ultimate stage.
Yeah. Being here last fall and not really having the same opportunities that a normal freshman would have to compete on the field or even be in the weight room. But it just made this year that much more special. Every single day our captains would bring us together and tell us that this could be taken away from us and that we can't take it for granted. So every single day we're out in the field together. We take a second to look around and appreciate it all. And when you're playing with your 50 best friends and you're competing for the guy to the left and right of you, it goes a long way. And that's what's brought us this far. And we're excited to keep going.
So last year, when you're sitting watching everybody else play college lacrosse, do you learn things? Like, how did you spend the year trying to improve your game and get to where you're hopefully playing where you are here this year?
Yeah. One opportunity that I had was be able to go to all my brother's games. So being able to watch them play and especially Lehigh and Rutgers being so close, I was able to talk with them and get the experience of what it's like playing college lacrosse. And I mean, one of my favorite Saturdays of the year was being able to go watch Lehigh win at 1:00, and then 5:00 go to drive to Shai Stadium and see Rutgers have a Big Ten win. So yeah, it was definitely awesome having the opportunity to go to all of those games.
Oh, so you know Rutgers maybe better than any team in the country, huh?
I don't know.
I mean, they've changed a bit since last year, but
yes, but yeah, I was definitely a fan last year of all their success.
For you get a chance to go up against a pretty good defense throughout practice, especially Gavin Adler. What are those battles like with Gavin when you guys go 1v1 versus in practice?
Yeah, I definitely don't win much. Having Gavin Adler, Jack Falls, and Dom Doria, and a couple other guys, it's definitely really challenging. And when you know you're going against one of the best defenses in the country, when you get out there on game day, it just makes our life a little bit easier. And being able to watch those guys and get excited for them when they have a takeaway check, when it's not on you, it's super exciting.
Connor Busick is one of the youngest head coaches in the country, and he's leading obviously a storied program, but he's obviously been part of that storied past. But what's your relationship like with him?
Yeah, it's great. He definitely has a lot of trust in me and lets me play really confidently. But Coach Busick knows his program better than anyone. Him and Coach Stevens being here together, they both coach with so much passion and so much energy, and they bring out the best of us every single day. And so whenever I have anything going on, I can go to Coach Busick, and he helps me out with anything. So yeah, I'm super lucky to be able to go into the locker room and see him every day.
What was it like before? Because obviously he's not the guy that was the head coach when you're deciding to come to Cornell. What was that decision like when you know he's going to take over?
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. But Coach Busick and Coach Stevens both recruited me. So when I heard that Coach Busick was going to be the head coach, I was really excited, and I had a really great connection with him, and he taught me everything about this place, and everything he said was so true. And I'm just so lucky to be a part of it and be a part of this culture, and be able to call these teammates and my best friends. So yeah, I'm super lucky to be where I am.
So he played on this stage not too long ago. What has he told you guys about what this experience is going to be like?
Yeah, he just wants to soak it all in, and especially when we all run out there and take a second to appreciate it all, and just leave it all out in the field. We're only promised 60 minutes, so we're going to do our best to give it our all and hopefully come out successful at the end of the day.
So you guys have this game here on Saturday, and this is what you grow up for as a kid, like wanting to play championship weekend. Has it sunk in that you are going to be on that stage here this weekend yet for you?
Not yet. And it's funny because I've talked to Colin a little bit about this, and how this is just a dream come true for both of us, being able to play on this stage. And I just know when we get out there and I give him a hug and say good luck, I know it's finally going to sink in, and can't wait to finally feel that and experience that.
Because this is like the backyard, right? Like this is like when you're in the backyard, you're playing one-on-one. It's like you're counting down 5 seconds left. It's to win a championship. This is it. You get to live it.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So I can't wait.
All right. Well, enjoy the experience here, CJ. It's going to be a lot of fun to see you guys play this weekend. Good luck, safe travels, and we'll talk sometime soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
So great to talk with CJ. I figured out after the interview, I've called 3 of the Kirst brothers games, but not CJ. So I've missed CJ. I had Connor when he was at Villanova. I had Cole with Team USA, and I had Colin from Rutgers. I had them earlier this year. Yeah. So I haven't gotten CJ yet.
No, there's still time.
There's time.
Yeah, there is.
He's got a couple years left.
Yeah. I'm sure the family appreciates that.
Yeah. It was.
They know you.
Yeah, it was great to catch up with CJ. Good luck to him in Cornell.
All right, let's transition here. Go to the women's side of things. Let's start with top seed North Carolina in a similar position as Maryland.
Yeah, let's do it.
And trying to also establish their legacy as one of the best to ever do it, and try and do it in an undefeated fashion, something they were at the same precipice of last year at this point. And, of course, they lost to Boston College in this round. Now they've got Northwestern this time.
Yeah, so we're going to break this down here. North Carolina, let's start with them. Second best offense in the country, top defense in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, have been as good as advertised all year. A couple of things when you look at their offense, because we know how good. I mean, the stats don't lie, and the eye test doesn't lie when you look at their defense. Their defense is really good. It's going to be tough for Northwestern to do what they've done all tournament long which is score the ball like crazy.
Yeah.
But this offense with North Carolina, the thing that I'll be watching for is some of the other pieces, because I don't think Jamie Ortega has to have a huge tournament here in the last 2 games for them to cruise to a championship. Because Caitlin Wurzberger, who has at times, I think, gone under the radar this year, which is crazy to think with how highly regarded of a recruit she is.
Yeah.
She leads the team with 42 assists this year. And she was pretty quiet in that Stony Brook game. I'll be keeping an eye on her to see how active she is distributing, because I think that's key for Carolina going on a big run and kind of like running away with this thing in the semifinals early is her. And you mentioned Andy Aldave earlier. 8 points in the 2 tournament games, including 6 goals. She's been terrific. And don't forget about Elizabeth Hillman, who was another former top recruit who's early in her career. At some point, I think is going to be an absolute star in Chapel Hill. She scored in that low-scoring game against Stony Brook. So a couple of names that are not Ortega and Mastriani that I think could have a really big impact, especially this weekend.
Yeah, I do think this will be Ortega's weekend. I mentioned that on Tuesday of this week. And you look at the matchup with Northwestern. They played once this year.
Yep.
That was a 20-9 victory for North Carolina in Chapel Hill. Geiersbach, Sam Geiersbach had 5 goals in that game. And that's just another name you can add if something isn't going well for any of the people he just mentioned. You can go to someone like that. She is what looks at times like the best athlete on the field. She is
Olivia Dirks.
Olivia
Dirks. She doesn't start. She was an all Big Ten performer last year.
And then you keep on going, and you don't have to go that far. Ali Mastriani. Could take over this game anytime. She can get every draw. She can score. She can shoot. She can pass. So there are so many levels of North Carolina that dominate, and I think it has to start there on the circle. And Northwestern has done a good job of that. They did a good job of that in the first matchup. It was 17-16. Northwestern won the draw. They still lost 20-9. So how do you stop North Carolina? You have to score on their defense. That's how you have to actually stop the runs, because that's what the big concern. You can shoot the lights out. Notre Dame did that in the ACC tournament. They scored on their first 12 shots of that game?
Yeah.
Something ridiculous. And then the North Carolina ends up going on a 12-1 run. And Notre Dame wasn't really shooting all that much. So you have to be able to do a little bit of both. You have to win your draw, and then you have to be able to score after that, too, because the defense is so tough. You got to find ways to work the clock a little bit, but you can't work it too much, because then you get out of your rhythm. And Northwestern has a great offense. They have people that can score at will at times. And they also need to get something from their goalie and get stops. Madison Doucette just 4 saves the first time around these 2 teams played. So I think that score, 29, might be a little misleading in terms of how close this game will be. But there are some things Northwestern has to do better this time around. And North Carolina seems like, they've been here. They were here last year with a lot of same pieces, not all the same pieces, but I feel like they've learned a lot since then and know what it will take to win it this time.
I also feel like, Boston College got them last year, but you kind of get the feeling that North Carolina felt like they didn't play their best game in that semifinal. And after that experience, anybody who was on that field last year for UNC, and you're undefeated and you're trying to finish it off, and you have that experience, I have a hard time thinking that you're going to let that happen again. I think that is the X factor for Carolina this time around as opposed to last year. It's the experience of last year and knowing we had one loss all of last year, and it happened in the biggest moment.
Yeah, and in order for Northwestern to realize the moment themselves, they have to do what Boston College did last year, and that was have people on their team reach and go above their potential, ever even imagining it, as Rachel Hall was outstanding in the cage over the course of the tournament last year. And Charlotte North did her thing. Jen Medjid was so key down that final stretch of those games. So you have to have players, and I think Northwestern has players that can do that. Madison Doucette is a great goalie. She could stand on her head in this game and make 15 saves, and that is a there's potential.
Well,
for
that's
that
what
to
Charlie
happen.
Campbell did for Stony Brook.
Exactly.
And that was that's a huge reason why that was a low-scoring game.
Right, and that played more into the favor of the opposition.
Yes.
I don't know if Northwestern wants to do that because that doesn't necessarily go along with their style. But they also have someone in Lauren Gilbert, who we're going to hear from here in a little bit, that also can go off, and she can take over games, and she'll do it obviously within the scope of the offense, a little more so than Izzy Skane might have gone off for 7-8 goals, and Gilbert will, but she can do that too.
Yeah.
So I think that you have the pieces in place for Northwestern. They just have to go out there and do it to be able to find themselves in a position at the end where they can get a couple goals and win.
I think this Northwestern offense has very much figured out more of who they are than the first time. That game happened, it was in March, I think. It was early,
Yeah, it was
the
a while
20 to
ago.
9.
It was March 6th.
Yeah, early March. So I think Northwestern, I mean, you think about the fact that they realized that they weren't going to have Izzy Skane in the offseason. And yeah, like that in the preseason practices, but there's a difference in preseason practice and then figuring out who you are as an offense without a player who is a Tourton finalist from the year prior. Like that's a tough thing to learn. I think they've figured that out here, but something's going to have to give because Northwestern's averaging 17 goals per game here in the NCAA tournament, including scoring 15 goals against a tough Michigan defense. Yeah, they played Michigan a couple of times, but that was the most goals they had scored against Michigan this year. So that was to me, a sign that this Northwestern offense is playing its best here at this part of the season. But UNC has given up double-digit goals only once in their last 7 games, and that was the aforementioned Notre Dame, who gave them their biggest scare in the ACC tournament. I think Northwestern can get over 10, but I don't know how much higher over 10. Like, I think if they're going to win, they're going to have to find a way to hold Carolina to 11, 12. I just can't see Northwestern scoring more than 13, 14 goals against this
Defense is playing really well for Northwestern right now. I mean, what they did against Syracuse was unbelievable.
How many 4 goals?
Yeah, I mean, that was jaw-dropping in the way they were able to do that. They have to be able to do that and play good defense without fouling at the same time, too. Carolina, I was a little surprised about this, 56th in the nation in free position percentage.
Yeah, they're not
all that good at it. But, I mean, they went 4 of 5 against Notre Dame, which helped them win that game, which was a close, tight game. They went 4 of 6 in the first game against Northwestern. So when they need it, they will score in the free position. I don't care what their percentage is. So Northwestern, a team with the fourth most yellow cards in the country this year, has to play defense without fouling to be able to get the job done.
Not all free positions are the same. They're not all weighted the same. Sometimes, depending on the situation and
North Carolina, from doing one of their games this year, I can't remember who they played, but we had North Carolina and Maryland on our air.
James Madison?
It was James Madison, first game of the year.
Yeah,
they do have a way of almost drawing up plays on their free position where they can get a goal that it might not seem like at first they make the shot or whatever it will be. They will work things where they can make that almost like a special team of theirs in which they can score and be productive in that.
So who do you have?
North Carolina.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I really like this Northwestern team, but I think Carolina learned from last year.
I do too. I think they've learned a lot, and that'll show in the championship game as well, which we'll talk about in a moment. But before we get to that, we spoke to Lauren Gilbert, the Northwestern star, today. So we are joined by Lauren Gilbert now. Lauren, obviously this is such an exciting time for you guys, exciting weekend. You're back there again. Take us through the thought process. You had practice this morning. What's it feel like right now as you get ready for this big matchup coming up tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like you said, we're really excited to be here. It's just an incredible opportunity. Being at the Final Four is always so special. I think it's just a really special time, especially in women's lacrosse. You know, we know the stands are going to be absolutely packed tomorrow, and there's really nothing like it. So we're excited to put on a show. And I think that we're really embracing the underdog mentality. Obviously, we're the 4 seed, and I think a lot of people like to count us out. But, you know, we earned our spot here just like everyone else. And I think that we're playing our best lacrosse right now. So we definitely have a chip on our shoulder, and we have a lot to prove tomorrow.
You hit on it. You're playing the top seed North Carolina here in the semifinals. What do you learn from the first game, and what do you guys take away from the first time you met earlier this year?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, ton of respect and credit to North Carolina. They're a great team. They always have been. They've proven that all season long. But I think that we're a completely different team from the first time we played them. I think, we've learned a lot from our losses this season. We've been through a lot of ups and downs as a team. And I think that, especially after the Big Ten loss, we took that one really, really hard, and we made a lot of changes that I think are showing up on the field right now. So I think that since we've been in every position, we've kind of had our backs against the wall going into this tournament. We've really just felt the need to show and prove how good we are every time we step on the field. And I think that we're ready to do that tomorrow. And I know it's going to be a battle. And I think that since this team is battle tested, we're ready to just fight for every play against them.
What you learned from this experience last year? Obviously, you were here at championship weekend. What have you is it familiar? What is the vibe now, considering you did this a year ago too?
Yeah, I mean, obviously last year we did not perform how we wanted to, and we didn't think that reflected the team that we had last year, which was really hard. We took that loss really hard. It took a long time to move past that, but I think that, it was difficult last year because we only had Big Ten competition and we were undefeated. So we just didn't really have those learning opportunities where we were forced to be in the position of really like maximizing all of our strengths and learning how to win really gritty, tough games. And I think that we've done that this year. And I think that also we have a lot of people on our team who have been here, and we're not intimidated by this moment anymore. We're ready to embrace this moment and really like enjoy the spotlight. And I think that that's a new mentality that we've taken on this year.
You mentioned some people maybe doubting you, and I think it started in the preseason when everybody learned, including yourselves, that Izzy Skane would be out for the year, and then it was like the expectations changed. I'm sure they didn't change for you. What was the biggest adjustment for this team when Izzy's not going to be with you and you got to figure out something offensively?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I think that you can't replace Izzy with one person. Obviously, she put up like record-breaking numbers last year. So we knew like we're not going to have one person make up for those stats and those numbers. But I think that it's really put us in a position where we have to play our best lacrosse all over the field. We have to make sure that we're maximizing everyone's strengths in every role that they're in. I think when someone's putting up those kind of numbers, you can kind of relax a little bit because you're like, oh, well, she's going to score 6-7 goals a game anyways, so we're fine. But we don't necessarily have that this year. So it's like, how can we make everyone show up and play their best lacrosse every single opportunity that they get? And I think that I've really tried to take that mentality on as an attacker, just making sure that obviously I'm bringing my A game every time I step on the field, but also that I'm making everyone else around me better. And I think that has really shown, especially in the last couple of games that we've played.
Is this kind of what you imagined when you stepped on campus, or was it 5-6 years ago, whenever it was, when you're being recruited as a freshman and all of that, sort of one of the leaders of this team on championship weekend, of this program that goes back in history?
I mean, I'd like to say I imagine that, but no. It's honestly pretty surreal. When I was a freshman, I barely played, and so I've grown a lot in my time here, and I think that it's just really special, obviously, especially when you're a fifth year. It's your last shot at this and you come back to be in this position. And so I'm just really proud of the growth of this program. I feel like a certain core group of us have really, really worked our asses off to like get this team back to the top. And, we're ready to finish the job. I think that, like we've talked about, we get a lot of disrespect from the media and the lacrosse world. And I think that we need to prove a point when we get on the field tomorrow that we deserve to be here and we're just as good as any of the other teams here.
You mentioned early on and really earning your playing time at this program. When do you feel like it clicked for you? Was it like a moment? Was it a game? Was it a year where you said, oh, you know what? I can play at this level, and not only play, but I can be great.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was definitely a process. After my freshman year, I think I lost a lot of confidence, and Kelly really challenged me. And I think that I embraced that, and I wanted to be better, and I knew that I was capable of being better. And so when I came back my sophomore fall, I had played midfield my freshman year. So when I came back my sophomore fall, she started putting me on attack. And in one of our first fall ball games, I scored a few goals and started getting confidence back, and realized I really liked being on attack and being able to put all my energy towards attacking and scoring goals. So I think my sophomore season, it really started to click. And I also learned a lot from playing with Izzy and Selena. And I think I didn't really know like what it meant to be a dominant attacker, but I learned a lot from watching and playing with them. And I think, obviously last year continuing to play with Izzy, and then this year just really coming into my own as a leader. I think that each year I've just learned a lot, and I've grown a lot.
What do you think's the biggest difference between living in a place near Chicago compared to growing up in Oregon?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, definitely the weather is a bit rough. That's definitely one of the biggest things. And I think, I don't know, I just like being at home, I think just I'm very like outdoorsy and like I don't know. We were near Portland, but like I never really spent a lot of time in the city, and like so I guess being near Chicago, I got more used to, not that we like go into the city a ton, but you're still like close to it. So I guess it's a little bit more urban, but it's nice that we still have the lake. So I still feel like I'm like close to nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Less mountains, but you still have the water.
Yeah, exactly.
You mentioned being on the lake there, that facility that you guys have, and people talk about the home field advantage that you had there, and unfortunately for you, you don't get to play the Final Four there, but just explain the atmosphere, whether it's on the field right there, outside on the lake, or indoors, what that's been like playing there throughout your career.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing like playing at home. I think the indoor was such a huge bonus. It was a bit rough freshman year. We had to play out on the lake in February. I remember my hands being like absolutely freezing. So we're really grateful to get that indoor. And I think it's also a really cool atmosphere in there when you get the fans like right on top of you. So I loved playing in the indoor. And then, like our quarterfinal game last week, we just had like a huge showing and a ton of students came out for it. And I think just like a ton of alumni get really excited, obviously, because Northwestern has been a dynasty in the past. So I think that it's just really cool to be able to represent the school, and we feel like we have a lot of people behind us. So it's exciting.
Yeah, and you are stars, and you're treated that way, right? We talk so much about where the game's going and the sport and all of that, and the TV slots and what have you. But there at Northwestern, you've got the light show going on, and you're treated as you should. You're treated as stars like you should be. That's got to be pretty neat too.
Oh, it's so cool. I mean, there's nothing that's going to be able to replace that feeling of just like how important you feel as a Northwestern lacrosse player. And like I said, being a female athlete, it's just like really special. There's not many places where you're treated the same, if not with more respect than, the football and basketball players who are walking around campus. So it's a really, really cool environment to be a part of and to represent. And I think that it's definitely a huge motivating factor for us to want to bring home the hardware.
Yeah, I think pro, men's, women's, I think you have the best intros in all of lacrosse.
Yeah, we do have a good intro. I was definitely going to miss those a lot. We have a really good announcer voice too. So he's awesome. And yeah, we get the lights going. It's fun.
Well, speaking of that, I know you're a journalism major, right?
Yeah.
So what's next? Like, what's the next world? You're well spoken. This has been a terrific interview. So what's next? What's next for Lauren Gilbert?
Thank you. It's actually funny. Every time I do an interview, people are like, "Are you going to be a broadcast journalist?" I'm like, I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it, but maybe I'll consider. I don't know. I'm still figuring out. My grad program goes through the end of the summer. So I'm actually going to be working for Under Armour this summer, which is cool as part of my program. And then got to figure out something for the fall, big life transition. So it's weird, but exciting.
Yeah, a lot of things, I guess, coming to an end and beginning here. The final few practices. It's got to be kind of neat, but also bittersweet at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. I have been trying to like really stay present, but it's hard when like no matter what happens this weekend, it's over. So obviously hoping to end on a high note, but I think it's just been such a fulfilling experience. And just trying to embrace every last few moments with my team and, not focus too much on the fact that it's ending because, I can deal with those emotions after.
For sure. Well, hey, Lauren, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Good luck here this weekend. We can't wait to see these Final Four games coming up tomorrow. Good luck, and hopefully we'll cross paths sometimes down the road.
Cool. Thank you so much for having me.
So great hearing from Lauren Gilbert, and so cool that she stuck at Northwestern for a fifth year. I know some athletes go and find whatever they have to find in the course of their career, but I think it's really neat that she stuck around and wants to see what she helped build, help she grow here in this group and these classes to fruition.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about earlier in some of these transfer situations, it's either you like the class you're in, you were part of that class, you feel like the time has run its course, you go somewhere else to finish out, or you feel like you've built something and you want to finish it out. And
yeah,
it's cool to see Lauren have this opportunity.
She loves it there at Northwestern.
For sure.
Really neat. Okay, let's move on to the other game. Next game, 5 p.m. on Friday.
This game is going to be awesome.
Maryland, Boston College. What sticks out from this one?
Oh, man, everything? I mean, this has, like, first of all, the Final Four on the women's side has like blockbuster written all over it.
Yeah, stars, you got matchups, names, teams.
You couldn't have picked out a better Final Four to be on on this stage, by the way, on ESPNU here for the semis, the championships on ESPN. Like, this is
this is why I think it's going to be the most watched women's lacrosse weekend I think we've ever seen in television history, because of, on top of the exposure, the teams we have. This is, I mean, Maryland versus Boston College is two of the premier programs of the last 7-8 years. Like, this is it, a collision course in the semifinals. Maryland has been as good as anybody in the country in their last 11 games. They've won 11 straight since that fluky loss to JMU at home. They have not given up double-digit goals in the entire stretch. That includes beating Northwestern.
It's a Big Ten tournament in there too.
I mean, like, they are the run that they are on is like all-time great level stuff. I mean, if they beat JMU, Maryland right now could be in the conversation of North Carolina as like a team that is built for a possible undefeated season and maybe one of the better teams we've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree, because they have it all. It feels like every single position is filled, right? They've got the Aurora Cordingley, Libby May, Lubiker, all there, Grace Griffin. You have the experience on that side of things. You have Emily Sterling, Abby Bosco. So you have all these different positions that have elite players in them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They have stars all over the place.
Well, and I think the thing that's interesting when you look at this second stretch, like if you kind of broke the season for Maryland up into pieces, it was the first part of the year where it was Aurora Cordingley and it was her show offensively. Like she was putting up these monster numbers, and it felt like her transferring in gave this Maryland program like a little bit of leeway at the beginning part of the season where they were winning games, but also allowing some of these younger pieces to get comfortable playing at this level and in the roles that they're supposed to be in, because it hasn't had to be the Aurora Cordingley show in the second half of the year. She is just kind of fallen back into what her role is, and it's all the other pieces that continue to stand out. When you mentioned some of them in May and Lubecker. So to me, I feel like that was for Kat, and it's all, you almost feel like Kathy Reese knew this in saying, okay, well, yeah, Aurora Cordingley is a great player, but also it adds a veteran piece, and Abby Bosco does the same thing in the defensive end. And so we have all this talent, but we need some veterans in here to help sprinkle into an already talented veteran group with a leader like Grace Griffin. We add some more veterans in there, and that's the magic formula, and I think we're starting to see that.
We are, and that's why in some stretches, BC is the underdog here, and that's why they are taking on that role. They're the 3 seed. They're taking on that role as the underdog.
Hard to imagine.
Which is weird as the defending champion with Charlotte North and the whole gang over there. So I think that the excellence of Maryland is more so on the minds of people than BC, like not being good or not being worth. Like BC belongs here. You know, they have proven their worth.
For sure.
And they are playing some of their best lacrosse they have all season long. And they go out and they dominate Loyola. And you look at, we talk about Emily Sterling. Caitlin Larson was the Patriot League Goalkeeper of the Year. She got 2 saves against Boston College. I mean, the way they peppered her, and she just she was unable to stop them because they were coming at her from all angles. And it was impressive to watch the offense for BC clicking like that in that kind of a game. So once again, they're peaking, and we talked about Rachel Hall and what she's been able to do over the course of the tournament. She had 8 saves against Denver and Loyola, and coming into the tournament, her save percentage 35%. And last year, it was a little better heading into the tournament. It was a little bit below. It was at 40%. So it was a little bit better. She played over the course of the regular season. She didn't have to she made incredible saves. I think we remember the highlight reel save she made. She had 4 saves against Notre Dame in the NCAA tournament, 11 against North Carolina. Obviously, that was the big game, and 9 saves against Syracuse. But those aren't like she's going out there making 18 saves.
No, she made the one she needed to.
She's making the one she needs to, and she's doing it again this year. She might say, oh, she's made 8 saves in each of those games, but if you watch the game, she's making the saves that she shouldn't make. You know, as they say, all coaches say, oh, make the saves, a couple that you shouldn't make. She's been doing that again. So for me, in this matchup, that is what makes it even more interesting, because you look at the offensive pieces for Maryland and what they bring to the table. She's going to have to do that, and that's the performance she's going to have again in the semifinal this year to be able to beat a team like Maryland.
Playoff Rach. Here she is. She's back, ready to go.
She's a gamer, man. She can bring it.
I think in this matchup, because you mentioned that end of the field, I think it's the other end with Boston College's offense. I think they need to be great against Maryland, because we talk about the defense and the numbers that Maryland is putting up. Now, they haven't played an offense like Boston College's, and Northwestern's as close as it can get, and I think Northwestern's offense has played better since they played in the regular season. Remember, they didn't match up because Northwestern got upset in the Big Ten tournament. But this BC offense has to be great, and they have been. I mean, you look at, they're the only team, Jen Medjid, if she puts up 5 points at some point here this weekend, it will be the only team in the country with 2 players with over 100 points. Because Charlotte North is just over 100. Medjid's at 95. I think it's that balance, and then you don't have to go too far back to find Belle Smith and the rest of the company. I think that balance is what is going to be the difference maker for Boston College. But I do think they have to be great. And I cannot wait. Charlotte North free positions versus Emily Sterling.
Yeah.
Like, it's like 1v1. Like, maybe the best scorer we've ever seen in the college game. She's the NCAA's all-time leader in goals versus the best goalie we've seen all year. One-on-one, like, sign me up.
Yeah.
Let's put them. Like, I want to see that over and over again. Like, can we just get practice footage? Can we make that happen?
I mean, that would be like a nice feature, like a TV show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a dunk contest.
That's what we do here, Tom.
That's true. We do make television. There's one more point I want to make about Boston College, and you think about the way they really wanted an ACC championship this year, and they lost 16-9 against North Carolina back on May the 7th. And I think that maybe got people a little bit off the BC bandwagon, if you will.
Probably why they're the 3 seed and not the 2.
Exactly. And, I was kind of doubtful on them. And I thought there were other teams I knew Boston College had the potential to make a run. I just thought there were other teams that were up to their caliber this year. And once again, BC has proven
we're aware. You kept picking against BC.
They led 6-3 in that game against North Carolina. And then UNC won on an 11-goal run. Boston College shot 26% in that game, and almost every other stat you look across the board is the same. So to me, that score was not indicative of who Boston College is, as they were that close to North Carolina. Yeah, the score at the end of the day is the most important thing. I understand that. But they played right along with UNC, just like they did the first time around.
Right.
You know what I mean? That, to me, is more of a score we would see that maybe we should have seen in that game. It just happened that UNC went on one of their runs, and BC couldn't stop it this time. So for me, that tells me how good Boston College can be. You know what I mean? If you don't have to look at the score, you have to watch them play, and you can say that, yes, they can be maybe beat the best team in the country, which I think we all regard as North Carolina. So to me, that shows you what their potential is, and now that they're playing here in the tournament, I think they're going to reach that potential, and I think they make it back to the championship.
X factor here is Boston College's experience, A, in this tournament last year, and B, all season long, because I don't think Maryland has had to face an offense that has gone on a run like I think they're going to see from Boston College. Because it's one thing to just have your A game, which Maryland did against Northwestern, and shut an offense down. It's another thing to watch an offense go on a 5 or 6 goal run against you, like BC has seen this year, whether it was against Duke or North Carolina. And I think that first North Carolina game's the perfect example of what BC is capable of. Oh, okay, you scored 6-7 in a row? Not a problem. We're still going to figure this out. And they come back and they nearly win. Yeah. And I think that experience is an X factor, because I think both we saw what Maryland did against Florida in that quarterfinal game. Like, that run was unbelievable. Maryland hasn't been on the receiving end of that this year. And I would be really surprised if Boston College doesn't at some point in this game string 4 or 5 goals in a row together. How Maryland responds will be, I think, the difference maker in this game.
I will see your X factor, and I will raise you an X factor.
Oh, what do you got?
Because I got this, and we talked about it. Go back and watch the conversation with Hannah Lubicker, because I asked her about the legacy of Maryland, not getting to this point last year, and she was honest about it. And that is something that's been marked, and that's something that they've talked about. So there is a hunger there for this Maryland program to go out and prove themselves once again after a couple seasons in which, you're like, where is Maryland? What's going on? We're not used to this. Don't forget,
like one season.
2020, they struggled to start. You're right. They did not start off well that year.
But they were the defending national champions.
2021 was a year in which they didn't make the Final Four for the first time in forever. So the hunger that this group of Maryland has to get themselves back on top for all those alumni. We know them all. The alumni.
And it's a home game, by the way.
All over the nation. There's alumni coaching. There's alumni playing still. There's alumni watching. These athletes at Maryland know that. To me, that is their X factor. They need to realize what Maryland is all about. They need to put Maryland back on the map, if you will, and this is their opportunity to do it.
It's also a home game for Maryland.
True.
Like, if half that stadium isn't in red, then that'll be a surprise.
And there'll be a lot of alumni there, too.
Yeah.
I mean, for all over the years.
They all live in Baltimore.
They're all around. They're all around.
Yeah.
So that, to me, is their X factor. Like you said, I agree with your Boston College one, but I think for Maryland, it's the same kind of, it's a different kind of deal, but that is a chip on the shoulder for this group, because this was what your group, this is the legacy, and they know that this is what they'll be remembered for.
For sure. So you've got Maryland?
I've got Boston College.
Oh, you've got Boston College. All right,
Yes.
I've got Boston College, too.
Yeah, I think that
BC,
tournament
Carolina.
time, BC, championship, until at this point, I know that was the case for Maryland for a long time, but we're living in a bit of a different world these days. And until Boston College doesn't make the championship, I can't not pick them when they're in this situation, right? Or you're going to be wrong, because that's what, I mean, if you picked against them any time, and probably have, you're going to be wrong if they don't make it, because they have for the last 4 years looking to make it 5 in a row.
It's unbelievable. This run is just incredible.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
So speaking of BC, we had a chance to chat with Charlotte North and Belle Smith leading into that semifinal. Take a listen. So from Boston College, we now have Charlotte North and Belle Smith joining us after their practice here on Thursday. Girls, you're back after last year's incredible run, but you make it back to championship weekend. What's it like this time around? Is it different? Is it the same? Each of you take this one.
It's different. I mean, you know, every year is a new team, and this team this year is really special. We're very close, and we're just excited to be playing on the last weekend in May together. To be able to travel one more time together is special. But you know, we're really focused, and we're ready to do whatever it takes to beat Maryland.
Yeah, we're super excited. We've been here before, and we know what it takes. So just staying extra focused this time. We know it's going to be harder, so we're just ready for that challenge.
Yeah, and you said it's going to be harder. I think that's what your coach has said throughout. You know, it's harder to go back and win it than it is even to win the first one. But to put into perspective what the U have as a program have done over the years, I guess, is that now just the expectation just seems to be there? What's it like living in that world and that dynamic where year after year you're at that final game, you're in this championship weekend? What's it like being in that scope of things? Charlotte, you answer this.
It's incredible. I mean, the coaches have built such a strong culture of winning here. It starts with Acacia and the administration and you know, all of our assistants and everyone in this program is just built to win and is such a competitor. And all year long, you know, we buy into what our coaches are doing and putting us through, and we grind and we go after each other every single day in practice. And I think, you know, everyone's just so motivated to do whatever it takes to win. And, you know, again, it comes from the coaches. You know, that culture of winning just comes from how hard they work and what they instill in us. And we're grateful to be here. You know, we mentioned, or our coaches mentioned after we beat Loyola, you know, soak in the moment of being able to go to a Final Four because it is special. It doesn't come often. But again, we shifted our focus pretty quickly on whatever it was going to take to beat Maryland, and we prepared really hard all week.
Just to follow up with Belle and saying it is harder to come back and do it again year after year. Why is it harder?
Like I said before, I think we know what it takes to get there, but I think now we have the target on our back. So every team, every single game this year has been out to get us. You know, when you're the number one team coming into this season, everyone wants to beat you. But I think that just fires us up. If every team's going to give us their best game, you want to give them our best game back. So we're ready for the challenge, like I said before.
Charlotte, Belle mentions having the target on your back as the national champions. On top of that, you were the defending Tewarton Award winner, and then you come back. Like, what's it like after the year that you had last year, knowing that everybody expects the world of you when you come back here? What's it been like to go through that and to do what you've done in terms of being successful and now make it back to championship weekend?
It's been a really fun year. Just to be able to have another year to play here at Boston College under Acacia and with my teammates has been really special. It is my last year, so I've just been kind of taking it slow motion and try to soak in every last minute that I get with them, because you know these years go by really fast. But like I said, I mean those practices and every single day that we've tried to just get better and better individually and as a group, we want to play our best lacrosse in May, and that's what our coaches set us up for. So you know, as an individual, I've wanted to learn as much as I can throughout this year to be the best leader possible, but also just to, you know, take in every last minute together.
Just to follow up on that, like, did you, like, in the offseason, knowing what the expectations were going to be for you and all the accolades and everything, did you talk to anybody about what that's going to be like? How did you kind of try to handle, at least like mentally, what you felt like this year was going to be like?
Yeah, I mean, I think our coaches did such a good job. I mean, with me individually and as a group, I mean, we've talked so much about, kind of what this year was going to look like. And, like Belle said, the target being on our back and everyone wanting to take us down. And we welcome that. We welcome that pressure and we welcome that kind of environment. But again, we zoom in and we focus on us and all that matters is what's in our locker room and what's happening on the practice field. And that's the only way we're going to get better. And we're going to, connect more as a team and just be ready to hit our ground running in May. And fortunately, we have the best coaching staff in the world and they prepare us the best that they can. And I'm playing alongside the best, team in the country. So when that comes together on the game day field, it's a beautiful thing and it's so much fun.
I wanted to ask Belle, and Charlotte, you've experienced somewhat normal college years in the past, but Belle, this has been your first one, right? In which last year it was kind of obviously a lot different for a lot of different reasons. This has been what we've talked to a lot of the athletes about, been a lot more normal. For you, what's it been like now to have a normal year, I guess, in one way or shape or form?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, last year was completely different. I think the best way to just think about is that it's awesome. My whole life, I knew I really wanted to come to BC as a recruit and stuff. So to finally be in Alumni Stadium and actually have over 5,000 fans at some of our games, I kind of feel like that's what I was coming to BC to come for. So it's just been really exciting on the field, off the field, social life, classrooms, like everything has just been what I imagined it would be and beyond.
I mean, following up with that for you, Belle, I mean, you walk on campus and you're part of a team that goes ahead and wins a national championship. Now following up, what's it been like to have those expectations set so high early in your career?
I love it. That's what you come to Boston College for. That's what you go to any ACC team for, is the expectations and playing against the best teams in the country. You want those expectations high. That's what fires us up here at BC.
I wanted to ask you both about this, and Belle struck a chord with me here when you talked about playing in front of the 5,000 or 6,000 fans, and we saw that. I was at the game with North Carolina and just felt that energy. It felt like a championship weekend game. And your coach, Acacia, we mentioned her again here. She was quoted, I think in Inside Lacrosse, she said, "It's time to think bigger as a sport." And I think that's so notable right now. For each of you, what does that mean, to think bigger as a sport?
I think it's great. I mean, just to be able to look up in the stands and to see that kind of support just for a women's lacrosse game is huge. I mean, the sport is growing and it's right where, it should be with the coverage and the attention it's getting. And just the growth in general, it's all because of, all the people that came before us that, we're now kind of, enjoying the work that they'd all put in before we got to this point. And, none of this would have happened and the sport wouldn't be where it is without them. Sam Apuzzo, who's our coach now, it's her generation of incredible talent and the people before her that, really paved the way for our sport to get to where it is now. But we're just grateful that we have so much support for our program, but the sport on a whole. And, I think, like Belle said, we play in the best conference in women's lacrosse. We're so lucky to do that because we learn, each game we learn so much about ourselves, but we have so much support around. And, a game in March may feel like, it is that kind of atmosphere, like a Final Four. So, we think it also prepares us for what we're going to see this weekend.
Totally. I agree with everything Charlotte said. Acacia always talks about it, but the girls that came before us, they're the ones that kind of set this stage for us to allow us to come here and kind of bring in all these fans. And I think Charlotte also has a lot to do with it. I mean, you probably don't want to hear that, but she's transforming the game. And I think everyone can kind of attest to that. I mean, you get off the field and there's 1,000 kids around her. We're in our stadium and you hear Charlotte, Charlotte being chanted. I mean, she's transforming the game. And fortunately, everyone on our team gets to be a part of that. But I think you have a lot to do with it.
That's really cool. And Charlotte, that's probably really cool for you to hear. I want to follow up with that. Charlotte, what's been the most surreal moment of this last year for you? Because with the attention and everything, it seems like there have been a lot of cool moments, maybe just after games or with little girls that have your jersey on. What's been the most surreal thing?
It's a hard question. I gotta say, this past weekend was really special. Getting to play one last game on our Newton field. We actually moved from Alumni back to our Newton complex to play due to a commencement being held at Alumni. But that field is where we spend most of our hours. We spend all fall grinding there. We spend preseason, unless it's we're in our beautiful indoor facility. But we spend as much time a majority of the year practicing there. And, it's a field that holds a lot of memories for us. And to get to go play there in our last game this season there and win against Loyola and go to a Final Four with a packed house. I mean, you feel the fans around you right up against that fence, and just the environment was incredible. And we're so fortunate, like I said, to have the support we do up in Boston and nationally. And we're just so grateful for, our alumni who come countless times to support us and make us feel, their presence. And, it's such a great atmosphere. I don't think it gets better than that. And it was a great ending on that field.
It's Memorial Day weekend, and you guys obviously are busy again. What'd you do before, you came to BC on Memorial Day weekend, guys? Like, what were the plans, before lacrosse took your lives over? Or maybe that was it. Maybe those were your plans.
Before, I would say I would sit on the couch and watch the games and study the players, the Sam Apuzos of the world, who just, would put on shows these weekends. And I remember being, little and dreaming of playing on this weekend. So to be here, it's surreal. It's a dream. But like I said, we're super zoomed in and focused on what it's going to take to win Friday night.
Yeah, totally. My cousin Holly and I were actually talking about how only a few years ago, Maryland and BC played on this field against each other. So we thought that would be a fun game to watch tonight, just like we watched it live a few years ago.
Some history there.
For sure. Let's talk about Maryland, because this is, not only is it a semifinal, but this feels like it's been the matchup of two of the great teams over the last however many years. What's it going to take to beat Maryland here this weekend?
We know it's going to take, everything we have. And I think, they're a great team. They're experienced. They're so talented. They're athletic. They're super well coached, top to bottom. And they just, they're a historic program that, they know how to win. But I think what's really exciting is that this team, you can scout us all you want. But I think what you can't scout is our connection and our chemistry and how much we love each other, how much we'll go down fighting for each other. And I know we see that every day in practice and on game day too, but we're willing to do whatever it takes to win.
Yeah, I agree. I think Maryland women's lacrosse and men's are both legendary teams. You think of the lacrosse world, you think of Maryland lacrosse and BC coming up now. But how exciting and fortunate are we that we get to play on the biggest stage against a legendary team. They're awesome, and we're ready to compete. I think, just like you said, we're very known for our connections and our energy on the field, and so is Maryland this year. So I just think it's going to be a really fun game to watch. The energy is going to be electric.
There's some great sports at BC, but we've been talking this week for BC kind of known for lacrosse now. What's that mean to you guys? He's talking because you mentioned that, Belle, with Maryland, but BC getting there as this lacrosse school institution, what's that mean for you guys to be a part of that?
That's so exciting. It really is. I walk around campus every day and I see kids wearing their national championship women's lacrosse hats and their t-shirts, and kids are coming up to me asking me to be on my pass list. People want to tailgate the game. So just to kind of be that type of figure at our school is really exciting, and it just makes us want to win more and more.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think, especially, being female athletes, just to see women's sports get that attention, it's huge. It's so deserved, across the board, but especially in lacrosse, I think, it's been a long time coming. And I think Acacia has done such a great job here at Boston College. She is just such a leader, among so many greats in the Boston College community. And, we learn from her every day, and we're just so fortunate to be a part of her program.
Yeah, Charlotte, we know you got the Queen of the North stuff. Belle, you got any merchandise just yet? You got anything, with the Belle or anything like the Belle tolls? I don't know. Just kind of workshop
I'm
here.
definitely not the Queen of the North, but we got some team gear coming out in our BC bookstore. So maybe a few things here and there, but.
All right, sign me up.
Yeah,
sign me up.
I was going to say, on top of BC being a lacrosse school, I think women's lacrosse jerseys have to be some of the best sold jerseys in your bookstore right now.
Yeah, we have a lot of them in there, and people are asking, which is cool.
Nice.
Yeah, this is good stuff. It's unbelievable. And I live around the corner from campus, and it's been unbelievable to see how this program has grown over the last couple of years and what you guys have done. Good luck here this weekend. We can't wait to see these games. These semifinals are going to be awesome. Enjoy it, and hopefully we'll be talking to you again maybe after Sunday.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys for having us.
Yep. Thanks, guys. So yeah, you can feel the excitement from everybody we talk to. And I think that's so cool about this weekend is that everybody has a lot of hope, excitement, happy to be there, but hungry for what they would all want to aspire to be champions.
This semifinal, whether it's on the women's side or the men's, like that day for both of them is my favorite day of the college lacrosse calendar. Because like I feel like sometimes in the semifinals, you do get the better games because everybody's so pumped to be there. Sometimes the quarterfinals, I think, are tough because if you're a top-ranked team, there's pressure there because getting to championship weekend is like the ultimate goal. But once you're there, it's like, all right, everything, like we're here, like nothing else matters. Like let's go out and play.
Yeah.
Like whether we win a championship or not, we're going to go out playing our best lacrosse. And I think sometimes the semifinals gives you your best lacrosse.
Yeah, that's going to be fun to see. Okay, so who's winning the women's championship?
Carolina.
Yeah. And I'll start. I just think that because I go back to that first game they played against Boston College, and I think maybe Carolina might have got a little, even though they had the experience from the year ago of losing to BC in the championship weekend in the semifinal. I think that was another good lesson for North Carolina. You know, they're playing on the road, and obviously they got off to a lead. And then they let the foot off the gas pedal a bit towards the end. You know, even when Charlotte North is scoring woman down goals, a couple of those shorthanded goals late in the game, I think that was the wake-up call for Carolina.
For sure.
I think that was the moment where they were like, oh, this BC team is still different, and we need to react to this differently. We cannot let up for the rest of the – we know what they can do no matter the circumstance at any time. I think that was a learning lesson, and it's incredible that it happened in a win. You know, it's incredible that they didn't have to lose to learn that because, to me, that was probably the moment where they were like, oh, we need to keep the foot on the gas pedal for the rest of this season and every game, especially in the biggest moments.
Well, I talked to Jenny Levy a couple weeks after that game, and I asked her, and she's like, oh, yeah. I mean, like, everything that we could have done wrong, we did wrong. And so, like, and you talk to some people in the team, they're like, yeah, well, we were happy we won. We knew we may have kind of gotten lucky.
Yeah.
And so, like, not resting on the fact that, oh, we're this much better than everybody, I think is key. And I think that Stony Brook win and how they figured out a way to do it in a game that is not how North Carolina has played all year, I think gives them even more confidence, and it shows you just how good they are because they can, while they've beaten you in one style for most of the year, they showed you the versatility to beat you in just about any style that you want to play.
And they won't have to play that style again. you know Stony Brook is much
the only team in this Final Four that I think could play that style against them is Maryland. I wouldn't be surprised if Maryland decides, you know what, we're going to take a page out of the Stony Brook book if that's the championship, and try to slow this down and let Emily Sterling try to have the game of her life and win.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. That would be the scenario in which you could see. And I think that would be a great game as well.
I do too.
If Northwestern happens to upset North Carolina and make it, I think that would make things crazy.
Yes.
And that'd be pretty fun too. So,
but you got Carolina?
Yeah, it's hard to pick. Like you said, I mean, last year they went to championship weekend probably thinking that they should have won it. This year they're going to earn it, and they're going to make sure they do that. They're focused on just that this time.
Yeah, I think we're going to have a couple all-time great champions here on the men's and women's side. Terps and Carolina.
Definitely something to remember.
Year of the GOATs.
Greatest of all times.
Teams, yeah.
Teams.
Greatest teams of all time. That doesn't work.
You don't have
anyway, but yeah.
You don't have to say that.
So enjoy championship weekend, because it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
We will be back after each championship game. So Sunday evening following the women's championship, we will have a full show recapping not only the women's championship and the Final Four, but also a year-long recap, kind of summing things up. We'll have some guests along the way. And then same thing on the men's side on Monday evening. So make sure you stay locked in for more content coming after both championship games. But for now, we say so long.
All right. Enjoy, everyone.